that the Sparrow case was before the courts. The Sparrow case is the precedent that was set, that we're following here, just a direct application of the idea that Canada has constitutionally entrenched Aboriginal rights and that those Aboriginal rights take priority and must be respected by governments. And when governments pass laws that infringe upon those Aboriginal rights, those laws will be struck down. Provincial laws and federal laws. So it's really an honor to be here and to stand in the footsteps of the great people that have gone before us in all of these other proceedings that have laid the foundation here. Sparrow was a defense to a charge, and the contribution that the Aboriginal rights branch of the Chilcotin litigation made is that you can advance these cases not as a defense to a charge, but you can advance them proactively based on a territory. Chilcotin declared that there is a territory within which Aboriginal rights exist. And that's why this claim that was filed this morning has a map attached. This is the territory within which the Dzawada'enuxw First Nation has Aboriginal rights. And any act of any government that infringes those Aboriginal rights, either inside or outside the territory, is invalid and must be squashed. So what this case is about the licenses that the federal government issues to authorize the introduction of Atlantic salmon into the Pacific Ocean in these net pens. Now, last year you will have heard about the problems with the provincial tenures. The province acts, or purports to act, as the landlord here and authorizes the location of small places on the coast of British Columbia to locate these pens. And the Dzawada'enuxw First Nation started 2 court cases last year. One saying that those pens were illegal because they occupy their Aboriginal title territory, and another one saying that the renewal of those permits that happened last June was invalid because there was no consultation. There was actually absolutely no consultation to renew those permits. And whatever you may have heard just before Christmas, there still has been not any consultation with the Dzawada'enuxw First Nation about those tenures. And that's just not legal under Canadian law. It's never been legal, and it's certainly not legal in light of the development of the law under Section 35 of the Constitution Act and the great historic precedents such as Sparrow and Delgamuukw and the Chilcotin case. The Government of Canada and the Government of British Columbia know about these cases. They were parties to these cases. They know perfectly well what their obligations are. This is not a surprise. It's a testament to how patient Aboriginal people in Canada are, how restrained they are, how cooperative and willing to work together they are, that it's taken this long for the pot to boil over and for the First Nation to say, no, we're just not going to take it anymore. And I suppose all Canadians realize that once you motivate a First Nation to this point of action, that there is no turning back. That this First Nation is not ever going to take no for an answer. They're claiming their Aboriginal rights, and they're claiming their Aboriginal title, and they're saying that those fish farms are a violation of that title and a violation of those rights, and that they have to go. And these court cases will undoubtedly be successful. This case is against the federal government. And let's be really clear that the federal government's role is primary here. The federal government has responsibility for the fisheries in Canada's oceans. The federal government has responsibility through the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to preserve and enhance and protect those fisheries, primarily for the benefit of the Aboriginal users, and also, as was very graciously stated, for the benefit of all British Columbians and all Canadians. It's the federal government that has that responsibility. But in the face of that, they have authorized this failing project of introducing Atlantic salmon, which, as has just been stated, cause pollution and disease, and all of the other parasites, all of the other problems associated with these fish farms in the territory of the Aboriginal people, in the territory of the Dzawada'enuxw First Nation. So the federal government knew when it authorized these licenses. It knew about the Aboriginal rights of the First Nations. It knew about the scientific problems with these finfish licenses, and yet they went ahead and issued them. That's why this is an action to set aside and quash all of the finfish licenses located within the Dzawada'enuxw First Nations territory. It's an order, it's a declaration that the defendant Canada has infringed those Aboriginal rights, and it's an order quashing the finfish licenses. That's the language, and that's what will be achieved in court. There'll be a trial. Some of the people you've seen today will testify at that trial. The judge will hear the evidence. There'll be scientific evidence, and the judge will be persuaded, we believe, that this is exactly true, what's being said. There are Aboriginal rights. The Aboriginal rights include the right to these fisheries, and that these open pen fish farms infringe those Aboriginal rights due to parasites, disease, and pollution, and will quash those licenses. That's what's going to happen. It'll take some time, but that's what's going to happen. It's unstoppable. That, together with the challenges to the provincial tenures, which will be heard in the courts sometime this year, creates an absolutely formidable challenge to these fish farms, and will set a precedent that's not just applicable in Dzawada'enuxw First Nations territory, the 9 licenses and fish farms that are under challenge here, a precedent that will be useful in court for any other First Nation that wants to challenge these fish farm licenses up and down the coast. So I'm humbled and proud to have the opportunity to represent this courageous, this valiant, small but tough First Nation that wants to take on this challenge. We're all honored by their existence and by them coming here to make this stand today, and I have nothing to do except to say thank you for that privilege.